Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Do you ever get to the end of a movie where the hero had to make a difficult choice, and all you want to do is talk to people about whether they made the right one?
Watch an episode of Star Trek and spend the next few days thinking about the rights of synthetic beings like Data and the Doctor. I became a co-host of the Superhero Ethics podcast because I love those questions, and the people at Wendy's are tired of hearing me talk about them.
We're not a review podcast. We're more interested in questions the characters face and how different works approach similar questions. Sometimes we'll even go behind the camera, talking about how on-screen media gets made and how that affects what questions get asked, which ones don't, and who gets to ask them.
We hit a wide range of media: movies, TV shows, books, and video games.
You can find us under Superhero Ethics wherever you listen to podcasts or go to theethicalpanda.com. But you can also do far more. We love listener feedback and we'll happily talk about your questions or comments on air, and members get special bonus content.
Hashtag not sponsored by Wendy's.
Well, howdy folks, my name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we're the hosts of The Exorcist Minute, a show where we examine, extrapolate, and excavate the scariest movie of all time.
Each episode covers a single minute of William Friedkin's 1973 horror masterpiece, The Exorcist.
If you like deep dives, this show is the deepest.
Did you know the film's iconic theme song, Tubular Bells, wasn't written specifically for the movie?
Or that the 1973 audience members were throwing up and fainting in the theater before they ever got a glimpse of the demon?
Or what about all the crazy on-set mishaps, cast injuries, the director firing real guns?
Ooh. Ever wonder where Ouija boards came from or how they got their name? How about some history on the Catholic Church or the Roman rite of exorcism? Or maybe we can tempt you with some juicy demonology lore. Did you know that Pazuzu had an ex-wife? Find The Exorcist Minute on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to your shows, or at theexorcistminute.com. Until next time, folks,
the power of The Exorcist compels you.
Hello, and welcome to Gank That
Drink.
A supernatural drinking game podcast. It's the podcast where we make up drinking game rules for one of our favorite episodes of our favorite show, Supernatural. We tell you what the rules are, and we recap the episode, and then we tell you how the rules played out, and then we tell you what's up next.
Boom!
It's easy, breezy, beautiful. Supernatural. Gank That Drank. I'm Krissy Lenz, one of the directors at the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona.
And I am Nate McWhorter, a performer and teacher at the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona, adjacent to the now open Burrito Holic.
Burrito Holics. Yes,
And
it's a
across the
terrible
street from
name
the
for
now
a
open
restaurant.
Pedal House.
Pedal House, Beer Garden.
Everything is open now. Come on down, see a show, have a beer or 5 at any of the establishments within literal stone's toss from the theater. Krissy, if you were to have a stone, and you were to toss that stone as far as you could or as close as you could, how many establishments that serve alcohol could you hit from the front door of our theater?
There's Oro Brewing.
1.
There's Chupacabras.
2.
Except my
that's
stone
a
would
good
have to
arm.
go around a corner.
Yeah, I think if over the building, it could be done.
Okay. There's Beer Research Institute across the street.
3.
There's the Pedal House Beer Garden.
4.
Worth sells fancy cocktails.
They do. 5 and beers.
And beers. Burrito Holic sells beers, and
6.
Gus's Fried Chicken sells beers.
7.
And that's
7
it.
establishments that you could hit a stone. A stone. You could gank some drinks. Come to the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona.
Have some comedy. Have some comedy and some drinks.
Some comedy, some drinks. Go back out for drinks after the comedy. We also have drinks at the Comedy Theater.
We do.
So we are an 8th establishment. Technically. But if you count throwing glass stones at wait, no, don't do that.
Soon to have taps.
Soon to have taps. Yes, we're moving on up in the world. Anyway, that was I don't know why I went on this weird tangent. I just was just reveling in the fact that these 2 new establishments have opened, and there are now so many new ways to gank drinks. around the neighborhood comedy theater.
There
But
sure
tonight,
are.
Krissy, we are watching an episode that you have chosen.
It's my episode, yes. It is season 2, episode 15. It aired February 15th, 2007.
Ooh.
It is Tall Tales.
Now, Krissy, we have talked about this episode in a previous iteration of this podcast.
It's true.
I hate to pull this on you. Do you have a list of what the rules were that we played in that episode?
I do not, because when we were
shoot.
doing this back then, we were pulling them out of a hat,
Yes.
and we were each
And we
only
should cut
playing
all
2
of this out.
rules. No, it's good, because like if you want to listen to that episode, it's in our archives. If you're a member, you can listen to them all for free. When we were going chronological and pulling rules out of a hat, we did this episode and all the episodes of season 2. And you can join and become a member at True Story FM. It's just $5 a month. You get all of that content. You get episodes a week early, and you get bonus content at the end with me and Nate chatting about sometimes relevant things, sometimes random things.
Yeah. It's chit chat.
It's a good deal. Stuff. You can gift it to someone for Christmas.
Ooh, that's a great idea. Great idea, Krissy. So we are talking season 2 episode 15. Tall Tales. What are the rules we are playing, Krissy?
Okay, anytime someone says bitch or jerk, take a drink. Drink when they drink.
Oh boy.
Yep, that was a big one. Drink if someone dies. Drink when they do research. Drink when someone says 669.
Damn, dude. Everybody's like.
Drink for a either seeing or mentioning an alien slow dance. Drink for an angry BM scene, aka a fight. And drink anytime someone says urban legend.
Bum, bum, bum.
This episode was directed by Bradford May and written by John Shiban. All right, so we jump in. Then Sammy has a hangover and Dean is messing with him. And then the boys do pranks on each other and they call each other bitch and jerk a couple of different times. So take a drink. Yeah, so you're drinking a bunch right out the gate. But the then doesn't really, it's not really having an impact. I think this is like just in the beginning of them doing then and nows. Because it doesn't really have much of an impact on the episode that we get. It's not like, except to know that the boys have pranked each other in the past.
Yeah, that is, I guess, becomes relevant in the episode.
So now, a professor at a local college sees a sexy young lady in a flimsy white gauzy dress tying her shoes in front of his office, or in front of the building that houses his office. He's dressed up in a big old coat. So our first clue that something's cold. Not right is that it's very cold and she's wearing a flimsy gauzy white dress. She's a literal woman in white.
Yes. And anyway, this guy's so dumb.
Yep. She says, "I've been waiting for you, Professor." And they go up to his office. She starts coming on to him hard and admits she's not really one of his students. He says, like a big old jerk, he's something of a celebrity around here. And it would be wrong of him to take advantage of her because he respects her too much. But then they smooch, so obviously that was all just blowing smoke. And then she becomes a monster. Like her face all rots away and she becomes a disgusting, gross, ghosty mess. And she says, "What's wrong? Don't you like me anymore? Don't you want me anymore?" It's very scary. Then we cut to a janitor locking up outside, and boom, there goes the professor. Someone died. Take a drink.
Bam.
We get the title card, Supernatural. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. 1 week later, we're in a hotel, and Sammy is doing research. Take a drink. Dean is eating in his bed, and they're fighting. Take a drink over the computer and the car. Suddenly, Bobby shows up. You won't believe this one, Bobby, they tell him. This one is really weird. And Bobby says, well, I can believe a lot. And we believe Bobby can believe a lot. So we cut to Sammy telling the story of him being in a bar with 2 students. Crawford Hall is haunted, they tell him. A professor was having an affair with the girl, and she killed herself. She jumped from room 669. Get it? 669? Like if you turn the 9 over, it's 666. That's pretty thin. Even as lore, even as urban legend. Yeah. That's pretty nerdy. But they said 669 to take a drink. Dean is drinking with a feisty little wildcat named Starla, and she's a mess. She's a total mess. She barfs into her mouth.
Yeah.
And Dean interrupts. Yeah. It wasn't like that. She was a classy grad student. So now we see it from Dean's point of view.
The Krissy, this is one of this is a classic X-Files episode.
Oh yeah,
where Mulder and Scully, yes, they both recant an event to, I believe, Skinner, and it goes back. It just like this episode where it's cutting back and forth, cutting each other off. No, that's not how it was. And then the other one doing, like playing up the version of the other person, in their head or whatever. So like fun opportunity for the actors, right, to get to play like a different version of the same character from the other character's point of view. But yes, I chuckled because I was like, oh, this is a I wish I will pull it up. I will have the answer for you. But it's a classic X-Files episode.
I love it. So from Dean's point of view, this like very classy lady now is like, you're so attractive, it's hard to look at you. It's like staring into the sun. And Dean's like, I know, but we have other important matters to attend to. Lives are at stake. They smooch, and then Sam interrupts, and he's like, Dean, we don't have time for your blah, 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 blah. We have to blah, 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 blah. And Bobby's like, what's going on? You two are bickering like an old married couple. And Dean says, it's worse than that. Married couples can get divorced. We cut to them with the janitor investigating, and he says, I've been mopping here for the last 6 years. Dean's cheeks are they're up in the professor's office, and there's a little bowl of nuts or something, and he stuffs his cheeks until they're full like a chipmunk's. And Dean's like, I never did that. I maybe had 1 or 2. And Sam's like, trust me, you did that. So the janitor tells them that the girl went in but never came out. And Mr. Morality, the professor, got more ass than a toilet seat. That's gross.
Yeah.
But they determine that there is no room 669 because there is no 6th floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So take a drink. They said 669. At the motel, Sammy's computer is frozen on bustyasianbeauties.com, which will become a running joke on Supernatural. Yes. But this is the first appearance of bustyasianbeauties.com.
That's funny because they play this joke like it's already a joke.
Yeah. But this is the first time.
That's funny. This is the first time because they play it like it's not the first time they've made this joke. That's interesting. The answer, by the way, is for X-Files is called Bad Blood, 12th episode of the 5th season. It actually stars the kid who plays Ham, the guy who plays Ham in Sandlot.
Oh, Hamilton Porter, the great Hambino.
Yes. So that's your answer for that. It's a Vince Gilligan classic.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Vince
Yes.
Gilligan bringing us the good stuff.
Hmm.
So we're back at the motel with Bobby, and he says, so it's not a haunting. And they're like, no, the next part gets even weirder, even for us. So we cut to a kid walking along. It's the kid from before at the bar. He gets struck by a beam of light and carried into the sky. At the hotel, Bobby's like, aliens? I don't believe in aliens. And they're all like, we know, none of us believe in aliens. And it's like, well,
Yay.
maybe you should believe in aliens. You believe in everything else.
Right. It's like when at some point when they're like, I believe in angels and demons, but God, I don't know about
I don't know
that.
about
Like-
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also love, once again, we're talking X-Files here. This whole episode's a great homage to some X-Files, right? We got aliens.
yeah.
I wanna believe and everything. Yeah, it's great.
So we're at a bar with Curtis, the kid from before. He's like, I blacked out. I lost time. They did tests on me. They probed me over and over and over. And then they made him slow dance with them. Take a drink. And Dean says, some alien made you his bitch. And it's like, Dean, come on. Come
Writers,
on.
come on. It's also 2007.
It's 2007, but he did say bitch, so take a drink.
Yes.
All right. Bobby's like, he's just nuts. And the boys are like, but there's evidence. They find a big, like, burned circle. And they're like, this must have been made by a jet. And they're like, right, a circular jet flying this slow over campus.
Okay, but wouldn't a jet, say, from like a rocket, like taking off, also be circular?
I think so.
Right? So, anyway. That was my thought, Sam.
Yeah. So they're interviewing Curtis's roommate, and Sammy goes all gushy and mushy, and he says, you're a brave little soldier, too precious for this world. And Sammy's like, what? And everyone's like, what? And it's obvious that Dean is telling this part of the story. So the roommate says Curtis had it coming. He was the pledge master of their fraternity, and he got off on all the hazing. So we're back at the hotel, and Sam's laptop is missing. And Dean is realizing that all of these cases are cases of poetic justice. So the professor gets killed by the ghost of the girl that killed herself for him, and the guy who's into hazing gets hazed himself by an alien abduction. But the boys have an angry BM scene, aka a fight, so take a drink. All right, now we're at the hotel with Bobby, and they just tell the story of a research scientist who did animal testing. We see him walking down the street. He sees a watch in the sewer, and as he's trying to get it, he gets chomped up by an alligator. At the morgue, the boys break in to examine. The dead guy's leavings. It's just like a leg and some assorted flesh. It's gross. And that's when they find a belly scale of an alligator, and they decide to call Bobby in case he's ever worked a haunted campus alien abduction alligator in a sewer case before. They tell Bobby that they checked the sewer and didn't find anything. But when he climbs out of the sewer, Dean finds that Baby's got all the air let out of her tires. And he finds Sam's wallet sitting right next to Baby. What? They have another angry BM scene. Take a drink. And they actually start to wrestle, which is pretty fun.
Yeah. And then an hour later, you showed up.
Yep. And so Bobby's there. Bobby says, Sam didn't touch your car, Dean. And Dean didn't take your computer, Sam. If you could just pull your heads out of your asses for 5 minutes, it would be clear you're dealing with a trickster. And he knows you're on to him. Tricksters are immortal demigods who create stuff out of thin air and then it disappears. More like deadly pranks. but they look human. So they decide that they know which human has been everywhere their cases have taken place. Then we cut to the trickster's house. Here is Richard Speight Jr. In his underpants and a white tank top. He's reading the Weekly World News and eating desserts with 2 sexy ladies and a pet dog. Now we're back at Crawford Hall with the janitor trickster. And he's like, sorry, I'm dragging ass tonight, guys. I had a pretty epic night last night. And they're like, yeah, okay. Sam hangs back and snoops. Sammy is a real snooper. And then outside the window, they have a big fight. A angry BM scene, if you will. Dean is like, it's him. And Sammy's like, it's not him. And Dean is like, of course it's him. And Sammy's like, we have no proof. So Dean decides to stay and watch the janitor trickster, while Sammy decides to go to his house and try and find some real evidence. Night falls, and Dean is waiting. Screw this, he says, and he goes into Crawford Hall, where he hears Barry White playing from the loudspeaker, and he goes into the auditorium. There's the 2 sexy women we just met with the trickster, and a disco ball and a big round bed complete with lava lamps, and it's all draped with like satiny cloth and everything. And they're like, let us give you a massage. And Dean says, I'm a sucker for a happy ending, but I gotta pass. And the trickster says, they're a peace offering. Let me go, and I'll just move on to the next town. And Dean says, I can't let you just hurt people. And so the trickster says, they got what was coming to them. They were hoisted on their own petard. But I like you and Sam. Treat yourself, and I'll move on to the next town. And Dean, they're like bonding here. Dean is like, I dig your style. I loved the slow dancing alien, but I can't let you go. And the trickster's like, Sam was right. You shouldn't have come alone. And Dean is like, I didn't. Ha ha. They tricked him. They tricked the trickster. And he's like, well, good luck. He conjures a big chainsaw man to attack Sam and Bobby. And the women beat the hell out of Dean. So there's a really funny, like almost Scooby-Doo-esque like fight scene where Dean is just getting wailed on by these 2 sexy ladies, and Bobby and Sam are getting attacked by a chainsaw wielding man. So Sammy falls down next to Dean's lost steak. He alley-oops it to him, and Dean gets the trickster right in the heart. So all the stuff disappears. The chainsaw man disappears. The beautiful women and the circular bed disappear. And then Sam and Dean and Bobby are like, let's get out of Dodge before someone finds the body, which is one of the first and only times I remember them like being worried about them finding a body. Yeah. And Sammy's like, Dean, I just want to say something. And Dean's like, I know, Sammy. And Bobby's like, you're breaking my heart, ladies. Can we just go? But the trickster isn't dead. He tricked them after all. His body disappears, and we see the real trickster, Richard Speight Jr., materialize and eat a Snickers bar, to be seen again next in the season 3 episode Mystery Spot. Yay! And so I wanted to run something by you.
Yes.
Because in the wiki, they credit Richard Speight Jr. as Gabriel. And
I saw that.
They credit this as the first appearance of Gabriel, and also the first appearance of an archangel. But I don't think they knew at this time that the trickster was going to come back. I don't think they knew that the trickster was actually Loki. And I don't think they knew that the trickster who's actually Loki is actually Gabriel. I think this is all us feeding it backwards. And
they just like him so much that they're retrofitting. They retrofit his backstory.
exactly, which undermines your whole Chuck is God theory.
Krissy, but we have not got to my next Chuck episode. Wow, wait for what we got loaded next episode. You're doing a good tease so far. You're doing a good tease because I've got a whole thing ready for the next episode. Anyway, I don't know. I'm here's the thing is I guess my I'm ready to give these writers all the credit, I think, on a lot of this stuff. I think they maybe do know. I think even, and I'm, you could say this is biased because we've watched it all now, but like even when you're watching him at the end, the body disappears and he's standing over it, like, that there's something more. It's not just simply what they thought it was.
Right.
It's not simply just a trickster.
Mm-hmm.
So I do, and that's why when I saw that wiki entry that yes, it's listed as Gabriel, and I get why, and you look at the Chuck entry and they list Chuck/Carver/God, and I think that I do love Gabriel as a character, as a side character in general, because I think that yes, he's had the evolution of thought it was one thing, then he's another thing, and then he's this very pivotal kind of point and role in the whole show.
Right.
And I think obviously a lot of that is because Richard Speight Jr. is so electric on screen.
Exactly.
I think that really there's not a whole lot of him in this episode, and I think he pops so much. And I think the very little screen time him and Dean have together, is just so electric that of course they had to bring him back for Mystery Spot. And
I feel like it's the same thing with Rob Benedict. That they just like Chuck so much, and they like Rob Benedict so much, and they love his performance so much that they're like, we need to do more with you, and we need to do more with Chuck.
I think they had the idea for Chuck being God from the introduction of his character. I really do.
They don't.
I really do. I do because I think it for several reasons. I think because one, they needed a way. I guess it's like this weird writers thing where you're like, okay, we're creating this world that is supernatural. We are kind of like gods, right? As people are following this, and not just people, but like money, right? Like this is a product. This is an entertainment product. And we'll get, again, I don't want to get too much into the weeds because we will talk about it next episode, because there's a moment in the episode we're going to talk about next on our next episode, that I think really just solidified it for me upon watching again. But I think that with the trickster, again, if they did retrofit it, they did it beautifully. But I think that they had an idea like, we want this character, if this works out, if the actor's good, if all of it, like, we can go somewhere with this, and here's where we can go. Because like I said, and I guess the interesting thing to me is they mentioned with the trickster, they have an insatiable appetite for sweets, which we see again in Mystery Spot, and actually is also how the boys
learn it's him and changing channels.
Changing channels, right? It's interesting to me, right? So you talk about that as being like, oh yeah, that's how we know he's a trickster, is because he likes sweets, or is the insatiable appetite. And so Gabriel like continues to play into that thing, even though he knows that's a way he could get caught potentially. So it makes me feel like it's all done intentionally because he wants to be caught, because again, I like Chuck is doing all this, like.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think as much as, again, I want it to be, and I want it to be Team Free Will, and I want it, and like There's even the line in this episode that he says, right? Is it free? What is it? The freedom? Or am I thinking of the episode I'm about to watch? Where you can be free. That must be the next episode. That must be the episode.
It's
I
not
hate
this
when I watch
one.
these back to back. But still, I think that, yeah, I like that Dean. If Dean had the opportunity, I think to be I think he really does envy Gabriel or / the trickster. I think he would love to be that kind of supernatural bad
Mhm.
or being,
Mhm.
because like it seems like a pretty cush life anyway. So how'd the rules come out? I love this episode. It was a great episode.
Oh, yay. Thank
It's a
you.
classic, and like I was super happy to get to watch it again because there's so many iconic moments. The Barry White playing like is just, yeah, I mean there's so many memorable moments from this episode in general.
It's true. It's true. It's a fun one. I love it. Bitch and jerk get said 7 times.
Yeah, I had 5, but I'm pretty sure I missed a couple at the beginning.
Well, he says bitch later on in the episode.
Yeah, I did catch that one. I know I missed a couple like early on.
Okay. How many did you get for drink when they drink?
13 times.
I got 12. So I must have missed one at the motel or something.
Or I counted an extra one.
Okay. Someone dies 3 times.
So I had 2 and a question mark.
Oh, because you didn't count the trickster because he didn't really die?
Yeah. I was like, but we know he doesn't die because we know he doesn't die at the end of this episode.
I guess you're right.
In the moment, you think he's dead. If you have
If
not
you're
seen
counting
this
and
episode
drinking,
before.
yeah.
If you have never seen this episode before, I guess you would be like, oh, that guy died. Take a drink. And then
Take a drink.
2.5 minutes later, you're like, I guess I can take that drink back.
Mm-hmm. Sammy does research twice.
Mm-hmm.
They say 669 3 times.
Yep.
The alien slow dance happens once and is mentioned once for a total of 2.
Correct.
How many angry BM scenes did you get?
I counted 7.
Oh, really? I only got 3.
I was counting every time they cut back to them bickering, telling the story.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, they're bickering. They're, like arguing about how everything even went down, even though it's not like BM. It's still like, I was counting it.
Okay.
Also, because I was just happy that it reminded me of that X-Files episode.
Yeah.
I was like, that's such a good trope. It's so fun.
And then they said urban legend 4 times.
See, I only got twice. I guess I must have missed a couple for sure.
Yeah. So
there's a gank.
A pretty good game. Oh, was there a gank? I missed it.
There was a gank in there. Yeah.
Uh-oh, I missed it.
Yeah, we got a gank.
Excellent. All right, so that was a pretty robust game.
Yeah, drink when they drink. Really carrying the load there.
Really doing its job. Doing the Lord's work there.
Doing Chuck's work.
Yep. So what is next on our agenda, Mr. Nate?
Okay, well, we were teasing it. We were talking about it. Here we go. It's the next Chuck episode. We left off before at the beginning of season 5. We're going to fast forward to the end of season 5. Season 5, by the way, I think I haven't gone through and looked, but I'm pretty sure season 5 might be the season we've done the most amount of episodes from.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
and we'll get into it into the episode, but yes, I mean it's the Angels and Demons season, so I mean there are tons of classic episodes in it. We just referenced one, Changing Channels, is in that season, and yeah, I was literally going through all the episodes between the previous the end that we did, and then this, and yeah, it's quite a few that we've done. So here are the rules. The episode of season 5, episode 22, the season finale.
Swan song.
Swan song. And it's a classic episode, so I'm excited to do it because it is one of the more famous ones with, of course, one of, if not the most famous supernatural moment in it.
Hey, ass butt.
It's a rule. So anytime we get some, I put not necessarily always BM scenes, but I put man feels / BM scenes.
Okay.
When we see just some man feels, some men and their feelings.
Okay, I love it.
Chuck waxing poetically about baby, or just Chuck waxing poetically, either one, but mostly it's about baby. It's so good, Krissy.
I can't wait.
It's so good. It might be. Oh, it's so good. Okay. I can't wait to watch it again. I love this episode. Satan Sam on Sam action. So basically, Sammy talking to himself. Pop culture references. Samception, yes, Samception.
Okay.
Pop culture references. We're taking a drink. We're taking a drink every time the cage opens and closes.
Okay.
And then, of course, our shot. Hey, ass butt.
Yay! Hey, ass butt.
I was gonna do a shot for Def Leppard too, but it's literally right before Hey Ass Butt, and I was like,
That's too much.
Well, yeah, it's too much back to back because I literally wrote, I was like Def Leppard shot, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, Ass Butt has to be the shot.
Ass butt, yeah, it's the one. Okay, yay! I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, fun.
Okay.
Sick.
Okay. So, hey, if you're listening to us right now and you made it here to the end, Nate, tell them where they can come support us in real life with all of those drinking spots near us at the neighborhood comedy theater.
Oh my gosh, come to the neighborhood comedy theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona, a mere stone's throw away from 7 drinking establishments, as earlier previously said. Anyway, come on down. We have shows on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. There are all sorts of different shows. Come check them out. Maybe look up Savvy Fest stuff too.
Yeah, Savvy Fest coming in February.
Yeah, let's get that going. Yeah, and come check out improv comedy. It's spontaneous and fun, and it's all ages. So bring the kids, bring the grandmas, bring the grandpas, bring the whole fam.
Bring them all. And if you still want more Nate and Krissy, let's face it, if you're here at the end, you maybe just are folding laundry and haven't turned off the podcast yet. But just in case you want more Nate and Krissy, like I said, go to truestory.fm and sign up to be a member, get our bonus content, listen to more of us yipping and yapping and zipping and zapping. It supports the podcast and it helps us grow, and we appreciate you. Like, rate, review, thumbs up, star, tell a friend, do all that stuff that helps podcasts. It helps us out so much. And when you're out there in the world saving people and hunting things, the family business, be sure to keep the Gank That Drank motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party on.
Party on, dudes.
What's up, Supernatural Superfans?
It's Nate and Krissy, your hosts of
Gank That Drink, the Supernatural Drinking Game Podcast.
It's the podcast where we make up drinking game rules for a favorite episode of our favorite show, Supernatural.
We recap the episode for you and let you know how all the rules played out.
Then we let you know the drinking game rules for the next episode, so you can play along.
But we want to talk to you today about becoming an exclusive member of Gank That Drank, a Supernatural drinking game podcast.
Becoming a member is just $5 a month. It's easy to do, and it helps keep the podcast going, bringing you more fresh drink to gank. Or gank to drink, whatever.
One of those two.
Plus, members get every episode early and ad-free.
With some extra bonus content at the end of each episode as a member exclusive.
We play games, we talk trivia, we chat about what we were watching besides Supernatural.
We talk about our lessons learned from each episode, and sometimes give you a geographical zoom in on the towns or areas the episodes take place in.
We have fun! Ha 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 ha. And we gank those drinks, and we want you to be a part of it.
So join us and become a member at truestory.fm/gankthatdrink.
And when you're out there in the world saving people and hunting things,
you know, the family business.
Keep the Gank That Drink motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party on, dude.